morning we had a memorial meeting for our late President Swamiji, Swami Samachittananda. So we continue with this last shlokas of the second chapter which we started. This is very important in the sense people have studied Bhagavad Gita in many ways. One of the ways that verses which are directly told about the practice which Sri Krishna wants us to implement in our life. Theoretical part to the practical part, and then also some other shlokas which are general narration and description, etc. So this is the first portion in Bhagavad Gita. The second chapter itself is important. The first chapter is what I was talking about, the narration, about the description of the backdrop of Bhagavad Gita. How Bhagavad Gita is important, how it started. The main question or confusion people have is how this sublime, deep philosophy doesn't seem to have anything to do with the war, which is the backdrop. That the two family of the two brothers, one who has a worldly, material consideration only. Not that Pandavas didn't want the material gain. They also were behind the kingdom. Cousin brothers also were for the kingdom. Then what was there for the war? Long discussion is there in the original book Mahabharata, which Bhagavad Gita is part of. Many incidents, many stories. It was a case, clear case of who becomes the crown prince. Very typical socio-political situation is described in Mahabharata. Two brothers are there. Generally, elder one becomes the king, but elder one is blind. So the next brother has to become the king, but he has perennial disease, something like jaundice. That's why his name also was Pandu, means yellow. That which is, his body is yellow. So if the blind king cannot become, blind brother cannot become the king, why his son should not become a king? Just because two brothers, one is blind, so younger one has to become king. Why the younger brother's son should become the king? This kind of political situation. They don't mind anyone of becoming a king. But when the basic moral conduct is not there, that's why the biggest discussion among the scriptures is dharma. Dharma is not a religion here. That which is apt, that which is truth, that which actually should be done. All kind of immoral practices, how it can be. So there were 5 who were morally better established, and the 100 brothers, except one of them, remaining, all were practically immoral character. Now, immoral should not be understood as we understand the word immoral. They were also very, very well knowledgeable, good scriptural reading. That also says that even if today's time, even if you have a good knowledge of scriptures, it doesn't make you morally and spiritually sound. If the scripture is taken as a subject of your study, not to deal with your personal life. You may know mathematics well. It doesn't demand anything about your personal life. Your personal life could be anything. But you still can become a good mathematics teacher or a professor. Is it the same for a professor of philosophy, professor of psychology? People do consider it the same way. I teach philosophy, but I have nothing to do with philosophy. In psychology, you know what is good, what is not good, what is a good state of mind, which is not good state of mind. But you say, I have nothing to do with it, but I teach subject, psychology. So here comes the question that an intellectual understanding of scriptures and subjective, practical understanding of scripture, as I was talking the other day. When you read Bhagavad Gita, the day you start feeling that Krishna is telling this to me, not to Arjuna, then study of Bhagavad Gita is beneficial to you. Otherwise, reading a storybook, studying any subject, where you yourself is not required to be improved. But scriptural study it is not only intellectual understanding, but directly it has to do with our life. It is something like a person of immoral character is writing book on how to improve your character. Maybe his book can be a bestseller. But when people come to know that he himself is of a very low character, how much effect of that book could be? It is something like that. So the scripture has to do with our life. If that doesn't happen, then scriptural understanding doesn't become helpful. You have many characters in our history where people were knowledge of scripture was very high. For example, Ravana. Ravana was a great scholar. But he did not change his basic character. As Swami Vivekananda says in one place, you may memorize books after books. That doesn't make you a better person. But there is another person who has taken from a small booklet few values and implemented, practiced in his own life. That changes him. So the purpose of scripture is to subjective change in ourselves. At least to be convinced that I have to be changed. How much you can change yourself? It may depend on your efforts. Karma, prarabdha, whatever you want to say, grace of God, grace of Guru, all is okay. But you must have this clear purpose that study of the scripture is meant to change myself. None of us are here to become scholar in Bhagavad Gita. Maybe there could be Pandits who can explain Bhagavad Gita in much better way. And God bless them, nothing wrong about it. But from this point of view, scriptures are studied by the saints, by the great souls. They may not have read much. Whatever they read, they implemented. So, the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, this is the first set of shlokas, 17 shlokas. There Arjuna asks Sri Krishna that yes, you are telling about this person who is established in God, who is established in his realization. How to know him? How to know that person? How he behaves, how he sits, how he walks, how he talks. In his answer, Sri Krishna told about all this. We also will go through very fast just to count the qualities which Krishna says about this person. So Arjuna had asked this. What are the external signs of a person who has realized something to be understood? There is no physical sign, or he should look like this, or she should look like this. There is no sign. You know, when we studied little Indian psychology and Western psychology, so very definition of psychology is what? Psychology is nothing but the study of the mind and behavior of people. Actually, behavior of man and animal both. So there is animal psychology. Among men, among human beings, again they can divide how men's psychology, women's psychology, children's psychology, mob psychology. But in general, human psychology, the mind and behavior of human being is called psychology. If I look at you, there is no way to find what is going on in your mind. Looking at a person, you can use your common sense, but that may not be true about the mind of the person. But when the person behaves in the society, when he reacts to the situations, then you understand that he is of a different kind. May live a simple life. There is no difference externally. But his reaction to the happening of the world, his reaction to the things around in this world, makes him different. So when Arjuna asked, he told, Sri Krishna clearly told, one who has less and less personal desires. What is personal desire? Desire shows that I am not happy. If I get this, I will be happy. So to get that, it causes desire. There could be another desire. I will be happy if I don't have this. So to get out of that, to get rid of that, people put effort. So lessen this desire, which is caused because of the senses, the conflict between sense and sense organs, or the sense organ and the sense objects. That is our way. We see the objects, we see the people, we see the things, and the things could be enjoyed by any of 4 or 5 senses. And you get happiness. So to get that object more and more is what you find in this world. So desiring for the external objects become less and less in this person because he understands he has found a place within his heart which doesn't require him to be attached to the external objects. Atmaniyeva Atmana Tushta is satisfied with him. That doesn't mean he doesn't eat or he doesn't drink or he doesn't walk. Normal life has to go, the body has to go, body has to run. But the craving desires are not there. In the world, what happens with us? Either we meet the people or go to get the things which makes us happy or makes us unhappy. That makes you happy, you want it more. That makes you miserable, you want it less. So what's wrong in it? That is psychology, that is how the behavior should be. No. The craving is a different thing. Craving increases appeasement of the senses from that point of view. Dukkeshu anuprignamana. He is not agitated by the things which are not in favor of him. Sukheshu vigadaspriha. And that which is agreeable to him, he doesn't demand it more and more. Balanced life is there. Vita, raga, bhaya, krodha. We don't say nowadays totally to abstain from something. That's not possible. So we call it minimizing. What is minimizing? Raga, attachment. The more attachment you have, more suffering you have. You know, when you go to doctor and after taking blood, they put that tape, bandage, and when you remove that bandage, all the small hairs of the body pulls it. Think that glue is very powerful for some reason in your leg. It's so difficult to take out. Attachment is like that. If you are attached to things, it's very painful when you lose them, whether it is things or people or whatever. Bhaya. We are always fearful. Fearful of what? Fearful of losing things. Losing people, losing money, losing name. Everybody is afraid of that. Oh, I don't want people to speak bad about me. I love so and so much, I don't want to lose them. So you are always fearful. Because the nature of the world is that you will lose it one day. Anyway. Vita, krodha. You want something that you don't get, there is another emotion comes in your mind which is called krodha, anger. So one who is free from desire has minimum chances of being attached with something, fearful of losing them, and also anger if you don't get or you lose them. Yes, sarvatra anavisneha. Sneha is love in general. Sneha has another meaning. Oil is also called sneha. which makes the relation of two things easier. In machine they put oil so that it functions well. Otherwise friction will be more and more. Love is something between two people or between the members of the society. If love is there, the society runs smoothly. But this person has love, but he doesn't have the attachment. Love and attachment are two different things. We have talked quite at length. Love is something subjective. Love is sacrifice. Love is giving up. Attachment is, so far you are the source of my happiness. I love you. That's called attachment. When you cease to be the source of happiness for me, still my love remains. That is true love. So one who is free from this attachment, whatever he gets, Shubha, Ashubha, good or bad or favorable or unfavorable, na avinandati na dveshti, he remains more or less unperturbed, undisturbed, because of his less and less attachment and aversion towards things. Then he gives a good example of the turtle who, when he gets afraid, withdraws his limbs. So a person in this world, he withdraws himself from the objects which could create attachment or aversion in his mind. But all this is possible if you have something within to hold on to. Spiritual life comes here. What's the point of saying, no, don't love anybody, don't attach with anybody. Okay, do what then? Okay, I'm not attached to anyone, then do what? No, you have found something within to hold on to. That's why in spiritual life, people take initiation and mantra and all that. When you pick mantra, people say, what is the benefit of repeating the mantra? Objective benefit, many people will say many ways. But when you do repetition of your mantra, your identity within yourself, I don't know what I'm speaking. What I understand, I speak. I don't know how much you are able to take it, understand it. But when you keep on repeating mantra, you have your identity within which is other than what your appearance is all about. That makes you detached from the world, but not without love and affection. So this is important, that when he finds that my inner freedom is a danger, so this person withdraws himself from the sense objects. People say, oh, he is fearful. You tell fearful. There is no point of becoming fearless in front of a lion. It is better to withdraw yourself. There is more intelligence. So, withdrawing the senses from the objects of senses. It's very difficult to objectify oneself. If a child is doing wrong, you can say, hey, don't do this, it is harmful to you. Can you objectify yourself as somebody and tell yourself, hey, this is harmful to you, don't do it? That's difficult. When you are able to do it, then only self-introspection, self-assessment, and self-correction will take place. So objectifying oneself, telling yourself what is good for you or not. Sri Krishna warns about this, that apparently you renounce. It is something like, oh, I don't take sweets because I have diabetes. Yes, you don't take sweets, but your desire to take sweet has nothing to do with your not taking sweets. Correct? So, you will find that people diabetic wants to take more and more sweets. Always telling them, oh, I can't take sweets, I'm deprived of sweets, if I take more sweets. So diabetes increases. Same thing goes in the world with us. Swami Samachittananda writes about Sri Ramakrishna. The difference between Sri Ramakrishna and us is what he renounced. He renounced 100%. What he accepted it 100%. This clarity of what is good for me and what is not good for me, what is helpful to me, what is harmful to me. So, the more clarity you have, it is not only externally renouncing, but also internally renouncing. If you don't renounce internally, only renounce externally, your attachment to the object still remains. I'm just giving an example of sweets. You can put it any example in your life. I don't take sweets, but my desire of taking sweet is there. Sri Krishna says this one. This doesn't go unless your understanding comes. You are intellectually confident and convinced. So there is a natural way of abstaining from sweets. You don't need to put effort. That state has to come. That was Sri Krishna is telling that this is a small difference between these two states. Apparently both have renounced. One still have craving for them, though he has renounced. And one who has renounced in a matured way. So he doesn't hold any attachment to them. Very difficult to control the mind, but it is the constant practice of managing or controlling the mind is required. Controlling the senses. Senses you cannot control if you have no control over the mind. Because senses are controlled by the mind. Mind is controlled by you. Your hand will go towards the sweet. There is a hand only. Who controls the hand? Mind. So it is discipline of the mind is more important, then comes the discipline of the senses. Then he says, but if you are not alert about it, this happens in our personal life, this happens in life of others, we can see in the society. You are not careful when a desire is in the form of a small thought, and you think you are happy with that. Slowly that degrades you up to the last extent of your life. So we have to be careful not only in a gross desire, but even the small thought comes. And then this happens only when spiritually you progress. It doesn't mean how many years you have passed in this practice. It has nothing to do with that. But if you are a sincere spiritual seeker, this is one of the advanced stages you get. That before the thought becomes desire, you have already caught the thought itself. Before it sprouts and becomes a big plant, as soon as the seed sprouts, you hold it and crush it so that it doesn't become a plant and a tree. In the same way, there is a small fraction starts within your mind, which is called sankalpa technically. Just a small thought, just an appreciation. You are walking on the street, you saw something displayed in a shop. Your eyes will fall, you can't close your eyes and walk. So you saw the object in the shop. What the first thought comes? So nice. Appreciation has come just. But you ignored it. In a fraction of a second, that appreciation gets matured. Let me see what is the price. Let me see whether affordable or not. If it is affordable, if you can spare that much money, you buy it. How you buy it without having a desire to buy it? But you just saw it a few seconds before. It was in a form of appreciation. Before your mind becomes gross enough to consider that as a desire, you must be able to recognize that minor thought which is sankalpa or the appreciation. You will find people telling, no, I've never smoked in my life, but my friends kept on telling me, so I couldn't resist. I never drink, my friends forced me, so I started this. Don't blame anybody, blame yourself. When it is small thought, at that time you need to crush it. When it becomes gross, when it becomes more stronger, your mind already is colored by that, your senses are involved in that. It's very difficult to withdraw that. Shankaracharya gives an example. If you are playing with a ball, all of us have told to the small children, don't play with the ball on a staircase. In a natural surface is okay. You lose the ball, you can go and collect it. But if you run, if you are playing with a ball on steps, first time it goes, very difficult to take back. If you cannot catch it, second time it is more difficult to catch it. Third time it is yet more difficult to catch it. Mind is like that. Where it is in it came in contact with the object and a small appreciation started. And this is a very fast process. It's just like when you see the car race, you cannot see the car, zoom, it goes in front of you. Then somebody takes a video of that and plays the video in a slow motion. Then you can see the vehicle going, you can see on the car number also. Meditation will slow down that speed and you will be able to recognize that here the appreciation became desire and you should be able to catch it. Spiritual life otherwise is religious life is easier. You put on a certain dress and start going to temple and put some marks on your forehead. It is very easy. Spiritual life is difficult. Spiritual life is to change your character. To bring change in oneself is very difficult. External change is very easy. You are wearing this dress, from tomorrow you wear some other dress. And any one of you can go from tomorrow I will wear only white. Easier, not that difficult. But it is difficult to change the mind inside. And then, once you are not eligible, you lose the eligibility by coloring yourself in the color of the sense objects. You lose your identity, you lose your individuality, and nowhere to come back. Suffering is inevitable. So this is fact of the world. There is no philosophy practically. But to understand, we always say this, that in our life, for example, you decide, oh, next week I want to go to India. What you do? You start planning where I am going, which flight I will take, where I will stay, whom I will meet, what I want to buy. We plan all these things. Only one thing which we don't plan the life itself. Very few people have an idea what I want to do after 5 years. I don't know. As it comes at it. Because we don't know what eventually I want to achieve out of this life. It's by the grace of God that some ideas come, so you pursue that ideal and live your life accordingly. Not that immediately you are getting success, but you hold on to it. Today morning we talked about our Swamiji who passed away. He joined mission in 1950, passed away in 2023. 73 years of constant spiritual life. Not easy. So holding on to this ideal to reach the goal, which is the goal? The scriptures have told me that goal. The people like Sri Ramakrishna has told me the goal. So to understand that what is given in the scriptures and told by the Guru and Ishta is my goal to achieve in my life, and I live my life accordingly. I plan my life accordingly so that I can reach that goal. Very few people can do it. But must do. There is no other way in spiritual life to do that. Those who have no control of mind and senses, it's like a boat in ocean. It doesn't have any control. The wind takes everywhere. Wherever the wind goes, the boat has to go. Boat doesn't have any control. The different sense objects come in our life and change the course of our life. So holding on to one ideal and not to get affected by this is the struggle in spiritual life. So Sri Krishna says in various slokas that, in short, one who has control over the senses and control over the mind only is eligible to lead spiritual life. Religious life anybody can do. Most immoral person also can put up a show of becoming a most religious person. Spirituality is different. Religion is okay. Therefore, we find difficulties in the name of religion when something wrong is being done by anybody, irrespective of which religion you belong to. Because they consider religion as everything, not the spirituality. Other day I had a chance to talk to some people. I am not a person of authority to say. But instead of finding fault with each other, rather each other's religion, it is better to find fault with my own religion, my own interpretation of my religion. What is wrong? Citing religion, I can't keep on harming people. So what it is said in my book. So we need to understand whether it is my misunderstanding or less understanding of the scripture that I am misunderstanding it and misinterpreting it. So that is the idea that people must put effort. This continuous effort is very rare. Not everybody can put effort. But without putting effort, you cannot progress in spiritual life. If you take that my spiritual life is morning, evening, doing something little spiritual practice is good, then not to have anything. But unless you invest yourself into that, that's why I was telling you, that most of the people feel happy when they have a God-flavored life. There is a flavor. A little spiritual flavor is there. Like, your 40% sugar and 60% of milk. With little flavor of chocolate becomes chocolate ice cream. Portion of chocolate is very less, just flavor only. So there is God-flavored life. Everything is going on, but little religious and spiritual color, spiritual little fragrance is there. And another is God-centered life, where the takes the center stage. That becomes the primary goal of his or her life. Then only spiritual life starts. But we don't discourage. If your life is not God-centered, like, oh no, you are not suitable for it. No, you are suitable. Suitability will increase. Eligibility will increase. You are on the right path. But it is, 1%, then becomes 2-3%, then becomes 5-6% and all that. Immediately, it's difficult to make it 70, 80, 90, 100%. But you need to invest. You need to invest. All the time, whatever you are doing is indirectly or directly connected with God. Nobody will say, at least in Hinduism it is not said, you select monastic life, you select. But even if you don't select monastic life, wherever you are, that can be God-centered life. Apparently you are serving, looking after your family members, your dependents, whether parents or children or whatever. You didn't select your parents. Nobody selects their parents in their life. You must select to have a child maybe, but you don't select which child will come to your home. There is no selection of that. From that point of view, it is that all the relatives, close family members came to your life by themselves, by wish of God or whichever way you want to interpret. It is not that you selected. So looking after them, serving them also could be your spiritual life, nothing wrong about it. A monk serving people and a householder serving their own family members, what's the difference? No difference. So spiritual life is that wherever we are, you select the type of life, but then that life has to be God-centered life. Whether you have a monastic life, or a householder's life, or a student's life, or bachelor's life, or whatever life. It has to be God-centered. Unless the life becomes God-centered life, we are only happy to have a God-flavored life. It's good to have that flavor. But realization of God is very far from that. Full commitment. Until the commitment comes, spiritual life we cannot progress. And it is against normal people. Normal people think that this is their life, this is God-centered life. God becomes important, not God as objective God somewhere. That also is one way of living life. God who is within me. Realization of that. So, this was the last sloka we are reading. Esha Brahmistiti Partha Naina Prapya Vibhunyati. There is a state comes when you realize the truth, when you realize yourself, and we established in that. That's the goal. Stitva Syam Antakalevi Brahman Nirvana. And one who is established is not deviated. She is not deviated. That is established in oneself. And the truth understanding, first you may go through reading kind of thing, hearing kind of thing. Then you have intellectual conviction about the reality. You don't doubt about it. Okay, I have not realized, but I am not. This is what I should do. Yeah, work in progress. But I exactly know what I want in my life. That intellectual conviction is very much necessary. For that only we speak and we hear. That only we study the scriptures. What scriptures will do? Scriptures will make your life clear about what is the goal. And whichever station you are, bodily we are all different. Our habits, liking, disliking is so different. But the goal will be the same. And to reach the same goal, this is the only way, is to introspect oneself and internalize the spiritual life. So that was the ideas which last, I think, almost 40 lectures we did on this 17 shlokas of the basis of spiritual life. There are 2 more segments in Bhagavad Gita which says about this, how we shall see Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Mission